Welcome to Rick's Corner. I'm sitting out here in front of Gold's Gym with an old friend of mine, Jerry Brainum, who trained with me back in the 70s along with Bill Grant and all the other superstars. And Jerry always has a lot to talk about that really interests me. He's almost like a rocket scientist, and he has the answer to almost everything I've ever asked. Right, Jerry?
That's correct.
You do?
Yeah.
I look to you as though you're my personal doctor.
I appreciate that.
Now, let me ask you a question. Yesterday I did a monologue about bodybuilding. Is it dying? And what I mean is it dying? The popularity of it seems to be declining. It's not like it was back in the 70s, and I want to know what you think about that.
Well, the thing is, I think it kind of peaked out when Arnold started to reach his prime. You know, his personality attracted a lot of people to it. It's gone down in popularity. If you want to talk about the public attraction to bodybuilding, I think it has declined, and a lot of it has to do with the physiques.
Right.
In other words, the type of guys that are competing today in the pro ranks, they only attract the real hardcore fans that want to see more and more muscle. Right. I mean, as a former competitive bodybuilder myself, I appreciate the extent of muscularity and sheer bulk that these guys have developed. To me, they're amazing. Yeah. But you know, if you look at it from the point of view of the public, they can't basically relate to these guys at all. And when they see a guy that big, when they see a guy walking around 5'9", weighing close to, let's say, 270 pounds, in competition shape, they say there's no way you can get that way without taking a ton of drugs.
That's exactly right. And that's exactly what I said yesterday, because in the 70s, and let's put it this way, bodybuilding, everybody had their own character. There was Arnold and Franco and Zane and, you know, and all those different people. Each one looked different on stage. Right. And they had their own type of charisma and personality. Back then, when they would pose, they'd give a nice smile out to the audience, which sucked the audience in. And it's, oh man, he's got a nice smile going, he's happy, everything's good. Today when they pose, they all have the same grimace on their face, like they're mad at the world, like, look at me, I'm a tough guy. And I think it pushes people away. Right. Because they look unapproachable. Right. And then back then, even Arnold and those guys, they would do promos and they'd go on TV and they'd talk about the sport and they would promote the sport. Today you don't hear anybody doing that.
No, that's true too. There's very little promotion. I mean, you know, there's no real attempt. I mean, bodybuilding, or if you want to call it weight training, is an inherently very healthy activity, and, you know, as you know, I write a lot of medical research. That's basically what I do. Right. And there's studies coming out all the time about the benefits of the public, and it's a shame that people might be turned off to, you know, engaging in weight training because they're afraid of turning into bodybuilders, competitive bodybuilders. I mean, the massive guys. But I just want to add one other thing, though. There is a little bit of a misconception in that it's not that these guys don't use anabolic drugs, but the idea that you can take a certain amount of anabolic drugs and turn into Mr. Olympia that's a misconception by the public, because there's genetic factors involved, there's training, and there's diet. And again, I'm not playing down the use of drugs in bodybuilding, but not everyone. My point is, not everyone. You can take the same drugs as, let's say, Jay Cutler, the current Mr. Olympia, and you're not going to look like Jay Cutler.
Oh, that's so true.
You know?
I see guys in the gym, and you do too today, and you know they're amateur. They want to be bodybuilders, and they're taking huge dosages of everything. That's correct. And they have no muscle.
I've seen that over and over. Rick, I can't tell you how many guys over the years I've seen. We know. Remember, there was guys years ago. You might remember this. I remember they would use Arnold's exact steroid program. Yeah. I mean, I actually saw him I was in his apartment where I saw him. I was one of the few guys that actually saw him inject these guys. Right. And the thing is, they didn't look anything like Arnold. They didn't even come close to looking like Arnold. So, you know, that kind of like underscores what we're saying here. Well,
it is genetics, it's diet, and it's training, and you have to have all those factors in order to get a good body. Right. You just don't take steroids, and all of a sudden you have this wonderful body if you're going out and eating cheeseburgers and fries every day. Exactly. And that's what these guys were doing. All they were concerned with is the scale. Right. Got to gain weight. Got to gain weight. Got to gain weight. Gaining weight in bodybuilding is not the answer. Gaining muscle is the answer, and quality muscle.
Absolutely, I agree.
And it might come on a little bit slower. What's the hurry? You know, you don't have to have it at 20 years old, so you have it at 22. That's right. It doesn't matter as long as you put it on slow and you have good quality. That's what you want. You put on a lot of muscle fast, you lose a lot of muscle fast.
That's very true.
But back then, our training was a little bit different too. I don't know if we trained heavy. We did train heavy to an extent, but a lot of it was shaping as well, and we didn't really overtrain.
You know what we did? We did years ago. I think generally speaking, we did an early form of what today they call periodization. In the sense, you might remember the bulking up phases. I mean, and then they trim down. Yeah. And most of us, when we did this bulking up phase where we do stuff like, you know, we drink a lot of milk. I remember drinking quarts and quarts of the...
Wait, I remember yourself. And we talked about this once before. A pound of ground beef at 11 o'clock at night and a quart of milk before you went to bed.
There you go, exactly. I would drink this raw milk by the gallon. I remember drinking this kefir, and I would eat...
I remember kefir.
Big tubs of cottage cheese and cans of tuna. I mean, I must have been getting 400 grams of protein a day, but I took no drugs, but I would put on... But coupled with that, I'd go in the gym. I'd do very heavy squats, heavy benches, all the basic exercises, heavy, and I would grow like a weed. Okay, I was a young guy, but still, I think the combination of the diet, and then you do this for, let's say, about 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Then most of us were still competing in those days. You kind of target a contest. And myself, I would figure that it would take me 3 to 4 months to go from, let's say, the bulked up phase into contest condition.
Right.
So then you would basically, you'd cut down on the carbohydrates, cut down on the fat, get rid of the milk, and then like you say, you would kind of like change your training to do the more of the shaping exercises. Exactly. We didn't do aerobics in those days.
We didn't have treadmills or bikes.
Yeah, there was no bike, nothing.
There was no cardio.
Nothing, no cardio.
Yeah.
So we depended on diet, and strangely enough, if you followed the right diet, and again, for me, it was, and for most of the guys, it was like a very low-carb diet. I don't know whether you use that.
Same thing.
And gradually, sure enough, the 6 days a week in the gym, I mean, even without aerobics, the body fat would just disappear. I mean, your abs would come out.
Well, we had a junk day.
Oh, yeah, always a junk day.
Yeah,
always,
which was usually Sunday.
Right.
And then you could eat anything you wanted, and you might gain about 3 or 4 pounds of water on Monday.
Right.
But by Tuesday, you were back down to where you were
Exactly right. I remember, I could tell you a funny story about that. Right here at Gold's Gym, we used to pick Sunday to be the junk day, because we trained Monday through Saturday, so Sunday would be our off day. I remember they used to have these all-you-can-eat smorgasbords. You might remember all over Santa Monica.
Of course.
There was one on Wilshire Boulevard over here in Santa Monica, and they had a sign out saying all you can eat.
Remember this?
And I went in with about 6 guys, and I remember it sticks out in my mind because that day I went in there. I remember seeing in the restaurant the guy who played Lurch on the Addams Family.
Ted Cassidy.
Ted Cassidy.
Right.
He was also in the what was that? The movie with Robert Redford and Paul Newman. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, he happened to be in there with his family, and he saw all these big bodybuilders come in. He was a very tall guy.
Oh yeah.
And he saw us. We skipped the salad, but we went right for the meat, and we were loading up mashed potatoes and beef like about 3 feet high.
Oh, I remember this.
And I remember after about 3 plates, I'm sitting there, and for some reason, even though it was about 6 guys, this guy comes up to me. It must have been the manager, owner of the restaurant, and I'll never forget because he had like an Australian or English accent. I remember his exact words. He says, "I'm sorry, sir, but if you continue to eat meat, if you continue to eat meat exclusively, I'm going to have to charge you accordingly." That's his exact words. And I looked up at him. I said, "But you have a sign on the outside that says all you can eat. Now, is that false advertising?" And he thought about it for a second. He said, "I'll tell you what." He goes, "Finish up today and don't come back."
I remember this very well, and they changed it to best you could eat.
Exactly. The next day I drove by.
Not all you could eat anymore.
Instead of all you can eat, it now said best you can eat.
Best you could eat.
1 day later.
But there were guys going in there with like workout bags, aligning them in tinfoil, and putting chicken and stuff in the bags just to take home to eat for their next meal. So they were stealing food out of there.
Right.
But that was the way bodybuilders were back then. They had to get any food. I remember a guy named Pat Flowers. He trained down here. I remember because he looked like Diane Cannon, the actress. I don't know if you remember him. He had long curly hair, and he was here for a short time. And I'd go down to the House of Pancakes and eat with him. And I'm sitting and eating. All of a sudden, he got up and he was sitting at a table over there eating some lady's chicken salad because she left it. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm still hungry." He says, "So, and it's a perfectly good salad. She only ate half of it. I'm finishing it up and drinking cream out of the creamers for protein."
Oh my God! See that I was never guilty of. I never would eat anybody else's food.
I saw guys doing that all the time, eating other people's food and drinking cream.
Yeah.
All the creamers in Zucchi's Delicatessen were dry from these guys. No one had cream for their coffee because they were drinking it out of the creamers every day.
The heavy cream.
Oh, yeah, that was real cream. That wasn't that synthetic shit.
Oh yeah, I know. That's right. The trans fats that they have today.
Oh my God, yeah. But we didn't do any cardio. Somebody asked about that. We didn't even carry water bottles around.
No.
I don't even know if we drank water back then. Now that you got to drink a gallon a day and all that.
Yeah.
I don't think we were into doing all that.
I don't know. Was there a water fountain at the original Golds? I don't even remember.
I think we scooped it out of the back of the toilet.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No, I don't remember a water fountain. There must have been. There had to have been.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it.
I could tell you another funny story from that era relating to the bulking up, since we're talking about this. I came up, this was the original Gold's Gym, and you remember they had a little kind of dressing room up one flight of stairs, very small, had a shower, open shower, had a sauna that nobody ever used.
Right.
And I remember, this is during my bulking phase, I must have weighed about maybe 240, and I admit I was really bulked. I mean, I didn't have a cut in my body.
Yeah.
I look like a wrestler, no offense, an out-of-shape wrestler. You were an in-shape
Why
wrestler.
would I be offended by that?
Well, you were a wrestler. That's why I said that. I don't want to offend you.
I'm not offended.
I'm talking about the big, bulky wrestlers years ago. In other words, you could see that the guy was athletic, but, he wasn't really muscular.
Right.
Anyway, I was up there now, and I remember I used to change. I used to come from school, and I used to go right to the gym. I'd change it to my sweatsuit upstairs. And right when I go up there, who's up there but Arnold, Franco, Mike, just about every top surgeon. They all happen to be in the dressing room at the same time.
And you could hardly fit in there.
Yeah, because there was like 10 guys in there. And what was going on was, it was about 3 weeks before the Olympia, and Arnold was actually posing for these guys, and Franco was posing too, you know.
Yeah.
And the guys were, you know, giving their critiques of these guys. So, you know, I'm thinking, well, you know, these guys are like all in contest shape, so I kind of like huddled in the corner. I didn't want them to look at. And I'll never forget this. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I had my back turned to them. I hear Arnold yell, "Hey, you!" And I looked at him. He says, "Are you a bodybuilder or are you a wrestler?"
He did?
Yeah, he said that to me. And I was like, every guy looked at me, you know, and like I said to him, I was so embarrassed. The next day I went on a low-carb diet. About 3 months later, I was ripped. I was cut.
Well, yeah, that shower was used by men and women.
Oh, my God, yeah. Remember that? Remember that redhead that used to come in?
The tall redhead with the dog. She came in and showered next to me and asked me for the soap. I hear this voice. I turn around and she's in the shower with me. And it was no different in the sauna.
Right.
You know, I don't want to name names, but I was in the sauna trying to sweat out a cold one day, and one of the former owners of the gym, and I don't want to mention his name, KS, was had found this girl walking by the gym, and he brought her in there and had sex with her right next to me when I'm sitting on the wood.
Right.
And I said,
that was common.
It started to be so overpowering with the smell, I had to leave.
Oh my God, yeah.
That was crazy stuff.
Yeah, I remember you remember the bathroom in the dressing room upstairs? It had no door.
Right.
It just had a toilet and a mirror. That's it. You know. And I mean, you know, I go up there and I'm sitting on the toilet, and that redhead comes in.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on the toilet, and she suddenly starts combing her hair right in front of me. I'm thinking, I mean, in those days, that mortally embarrassed me. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say, you know. I mean, you know, to her it was nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, what can I? That was Gold's Gym. What can I say?
That's Gold's Gym, and this is Gold's Gym now. Now, this Gold's Gym today is a good gym.
Yeah.
But it's nothing like that.
Oh, no.
Not even close.
No.
This is commercial.
This is commercial, completely different atmosphere. I mean, I was telling a guy online recently, I mean, the thing that stands out with the original Gold's Gym, there was something about that gym where as soon as you walked in the door, you felt like training.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there was something that it didn't have to have all the top body. There was something about it where it was so hardcore, you just wanted to hit the weights. There was none of this stuff like, I don't feel like training today, that type of thing.
Well,
it was,
that's true, because we were younger then too, and we felt like training. But now when I walk in the door here, and I do feel like training, I look in there and I say, how soon can I get done?
Right. That's the way I am.
Lou Ferrigno came up to me last week, and he said to me, remember the days, Rick, when we used to go to the gym, we would just die to train? Now we both come in here and we look at the clock, and we get done in 10 minutes.
That's it. I mean,
know.
Really, I mean, I try to keep my workouts as brief as possible, and I train at night, so, you know, I don't talk. There's not a lot of people here, so I don't talk a lot, but the few times I've come here when it's early like now, it's a whole different crowd. I mean,
it's
you know,
totally
there's no.
Well,
it's like a city. You know what I mean? It's like you know what? It's a comparable to. It's kind of like the original Golds. You could look at it like it was a small town. Whereas this Gold's is like a big city, you know, a big city where people walk by and never say hello to each other.
Like a shopping center.
Exactly,
it's
right.
Like a shopping center nowadays. But like I say, when bodybuilding's dying, I don't know if it's ever going to die out because it's still popular, but I think fitness has taken over.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's into fitness nowadays
because
the people in this gym aren't hardcore bodybuilders. I mean, they train hard, but they're in damn good shape.
Right.
I mean, the guys and the girls, they all got abs, they got good delts and arms. It's a nice-looking body. You know? It's what we were back then, basically.
Right.
And then you have your group of the guys that are 200 or 300 pounds that stick to themselves.
Right.
And they aren't social.
Right.
Years ago, the guys were social.
Exactly. I've noticed that too.
And that's what's changed bodybuilding in my mind. You know, I don't care how big you are, what your titles are, you can still be nice to the people.
Yeah.
They're the ones that put you there, and you want to keep the sport going. You got to have a personality to sell along with a body. You can't be one-dimensional.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you another little recent story, actually. There was this female fitness guru that I never met, and somehow she got my email. And she started asking me questions, you know, about diet and training. And I never met this girl. And, you know, so I figured, all right, I'll answer her questions. After about the third question, she offered to pay me. And I said, I'll tell you what, I have a blog. Put your blog, put a link up to my blog on your page, and we'll call it even.
Right.
So she agreed to that. And I didn't realize what I was doing was opening a Pandora's box. Because
sure.
She started asking me every question you could think of, sometimes 3-4 questions a day.
Right.
I became her kind of like online, you know, advisor, you know, but it's as if I had nothing better to do than answer her questions, you know. But I did this for several months. Finally, one day, there was a holiday where I came to the gym early. I mean, you have to understand, I met this girl one time. I came in early, and she was there, and I walked up to her, introduced myself. She said hello, and then went back to training. And I respected that. I said, she's serious about her training. I'm not going to bother. There was no real conversation other than to introduce myself.
Right.